day one from Big Ten Media Days here in Las Vegas. I'm Stephen Means, that's Andrew Gillis, and that's Stefan Krajisnik. We talk with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, linebacker Sonny Styles, and safety Caleb Downs. Andrew, what is the most interesting thing you heard from an Ohio State player or coach on Tuesday?
I think Ryan Day was, he was asked a lot about kind of the structure of things, right? He talked about the college football playoff and what his thoughts are about what that should be and the NIL stuff and things like that. But one of the things that I was doing was I was going around to various coaches and I was asking them about the recruiting sphere. And Ryan Day, I thought it was a pretty interesting comment, and I think it's something that, not necessarily newsy, but it definitely reinforces how much this is in his mind. Ohio State went on a run to the national championship game last year, as we all know, and they played till January 20th. That time of the year was very, very unique where Ohio State's coaches, they're in Columbus, they're in Austin, Texas, they're in Atlanta, Georgia, they're in Pasadena, California. They're not running around doing a lot of recruiting. So one of the things that Ryan Day really kind of hammered home was, I asked him, what would you like to see change on the recruiting calendar? And he said, one of the things that I think is really important is there cannot be in recruiting or in-home recruiting in the winter months, because that directly that is a direct negative to Ohio State. And I think kind of comparing and contrasting that answer with Matt Rule, with Greg Schiano, who both talked about assistant coaches being on the road and, hey, there shouldn't be a limit. We need to give assistant coaches more breaks. And just Ryan Day talking about the recruiting sphere, I think just kind of was illuminating for me, maybe not in a newsy sense, but it definitely gave you some new context, which I think is news to me, where, it gives you new context of, hey, look, you've got teams at the top, you've got teams in the middle, you've got teams at the bottom, and they all have different wants and asks for what recruiting should be in 2025. And Ryan Day kind of laying that out there, I thought was really, really interesting.
Stefan, what'd you learn?
I think one thing that's interesting, too, on the recruiting front is there was a report earlier in the day, too, that it sounds like there's going to be one portal window, and it's probably going to be in January, which is not what Ross Bjork has really advocated for, which, it would make more sense for that to be in February when the season's over, but, this is still technically school, so you can't do it in February because people have to go to school and enroll in school and things of that nature. So that it's very fascinating, the recruiting calendar way, things that are going to be, shaken out. For me, I think the conversation about the college football playoff is so intriguing, and it's clear that the Big Ten coaches, along with the commissioner, and when I say Big Ten coaches, very specifically Ryan Day in the way he talked about it, they want the four automatic qualifiers. They want the 16-team playoff or even a 14-team playoff that includes 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten, and that would also apply to the SEC. And the SEC has made their stance clear. They did so at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago of they want the 5+11, 5 automatic bids, which is what you have now, with 11 at-large bids. Right now we have 5 automatic bids with 7 at-large bids. I had to do the math there for a second. So there's one massive thing that's lingering in all this is the conference games, right? Big Ten plays 9 conference games. The SEC plays 8. The SEC doesn't really seem like they want to move, frankly, and it seems like the Big Ten kind of wants to stay put at 9. I don't think they're going to move back to 8. And until that gets figured out, I'm not sure if the new format of the college football playoff is going to get figured out anytime soon, or at least not by December 1st deadline for it to change for the 2026 season. So that might also affect non-conference scheduling. Like we have Ohio State, Texas this year and next. Ohio State has home and homes with Alabama and Georgia down the road, and they seem pretty confident that those games would stay on the schedule. But if the playoff isn't changed to what the Big Ten wants, it sounds like after those series are done, the Ohio State's not going to be pushing to, hey, let's go add Oklahoma in 10 years. Oh, let's go add Notre Dame. Oh, let's go add Florida. Like, it sounds like after the Bama-Georgia series, if this is what the playoff is and the SEC is still at 8 conference games, Ryan Day is fine being like, hey, listen, we're not going to add a game just to make you guys happy. You guys as in, the rest of the college football, not fans. Obviously, they would like to make fans happy. But if that's logistically what makes the most sense, if you're not getting those automatic bids, it's going to hurt the future of non-conference play. So I don't know where this is going to go, because it's clear that there's a line in the sand between the Big Ten and the SEC, and the Big Ten coaches are starting to get pretty loud, especially the most prominent coaches like Ryan Day are starting to get pretty loud about this is the right way to do it, and the SEC doesn't agree. I don't know where this is going to go.
And that messaging from Day was in lockstep with how Ross Bjork talked about things a month ago when we talked with him, Stefan, about this, is that 9. That's the number here. Does the SEC want to go to 9 conference games or not? Because I feel like that's going to get the ball rolling on all of those stuff. But he did say that right now you've got Texas this year, next year you've got Bama home and home, 2 years after that, and then a couple of years down the line you've got a Georgia home and home, and then that's it. We'll see what happens after that. Let's see what happens with it. I think both of you guys brought up things. It wasn't a lot of football talk. Come on, these guys. I mean,
Welcome to college football.
I was literally going to say, in the words of Brett Bielema, holy blank, the world has changed. Like, off-season college football, it's hard to talk about college football because nobody knows, like, what's going to happen.
Ryan Day got asked 2 actual football questions. One was, so what's up with your quarterback? And the other one was, so what's up with your defensive tackle depth? Everything else was like leadership, who might be awesome. We don't want to go out on the road on a recruiting trail in the winter, which, yeah, some of that is because they're playing football. The other part is that does anybody want to go travel in the winter? No, you want to be with your families.
Quality of life.
There was another football question. It's how do you beat Michigan? And he said you score more points than them.
Score more points than them. Drinks of water, and then the next question gets asked. But but even that's a big picture conversation at this point when you lost 4 in a row. I think the SEC had their media days last week, and it was a big time like war of the words. And now this week, the Big Ten's getting a chance to do so because I thought even Tony Batiti was getting in on the mix. And Ryan Day, as a guy who's, year 7 as a head coach here, year 9 in the program, along with a lot of these other coaches, are starting to get just as loud as the SEC coaches are on all of these different issues. We'll continue to discuss this on Buckeye Talk, so go listen to that wherever you find podcasts and get the text 614-350-2315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. That's Stefan. I'm Steven, and that's Andrew. And this was a big day at Big Ten Media Days.